Hey, what's up? I'm Allie, and welcome back to my channel. I have redone my reading spreadsheets yet again, and I do these pretty much every single year, and I added a bunch of new stuff this year. So first, I'm going to give a just quick peek through all the things in case you're interested in buying and want to see what all it has to offer. But then after that section, I'm going to get into more how-tos and go into depth on each of the tabs for anyone who might want to come back to this video or see how to use the different tabs within the spreadsheet. So let's get into this. It's gonna be a long one. At least for me. You can skip around to wherever you need to be in the video. If you don't know, I've been selling reading tracking spreadsheets on Etsy for the past 2 years. You can get this one in particular for $5. It's all I ever charge for this one. I'm hoping to come out with the 5-year one as well as an updated basic one before the end of the month. I am always and forever going to be a last minute girly. I have ADHD and that's what happens. One of my frequently asked questions, does this work with Excel? No, it does not. This is a Google Sheets. Google is completely free. If you didn't know, it's just part of your Google Drive. So it's a completely free as long as you have a Google email, you have Google Drive. Other thing is, I don't really like any of the color. You can change the colors. Changing the colors is so easy. I just give a few color options for people. The other thing is you don't have to use everything in this, and I will show you how to hide and delete things. I give way more things than anyone probably could ever use. I honestly delete most of it for my own self. So, all right, let's get into this quick little walkthrough. So there's like 30 some tabs incorporated in this. First you have an instructions. This is like very basic, telling you how to basically do a few things, how to make a copy, how to get rid of some things, just pretty basic if you don't necessarily know much about Google Sheets. Then we have a goals page, completely up to you how you want to use this really. There is personal yearly goals if you want to put your reading goals there, but then also like year-long reading challenges you can enter here. Your monthly goals read versus like your real. And same with pages and hours listened to. And then there's just some little goal sections here. And then books read. This is the big one. This is where you insert all the data that gets read pretty much everywhere else. So we have image, cover, title, author, the statuses, and you can go through and put currently reading, finished, DNF, to read, paused, things like that. Pages read, hours listened, month read. You have your basic rating system. The difference is this year there's a basic and a customized rating system. And then this will automatically give you stars here, or you could use the customized rating system here, and then that also gives you star ratings here. Whether or not you own it, if you want to buy it, if you DNF'd it, if it's a reread, the main genre, the subgenre, if it's nonfiction, the format of it, and then the source. So format I tend to do to make a distinction between them: graphic novel, novella, and then source is more of like, how did you actually like take in the information? The intended audience, there is a spice level, and then there's a gore score, because I am not much of a spicy reader, but I am a horror reader, and that felt important, you know? If it's part of a series, what series it is in, the number in the series, if that one completed the series, where you acquired it, the author status to you, debut, new to me, is it, have you read from them before, type of publication, publisher, country, to use how you want. I've actually recommended, there's been people who've been interested by state. You could do this by state. I believe it should work as well. If it's diverse, if there's triggers to it, the cover color, the date that started, the date you finish, and then it'll auto-calculate how many days to read. And then book bracket and tier ranking are things that have been added this year. Heard about from, if it's part of a readathon, if it's part of a reading challenge, and then if you want to write in, like, if it's for something specific, or notes, or a link to the book, or whatever. Again, you don't have to use all these things. And chances are you won't. and that's okay. But I wanted to give every option under the sun. And the thing with all these drop-down menus is they're customizable. So you can customize them specifically to what you know you're going to use. A new tab this year is the reviewing tab. So anything that you read will automatically show up here, and it fills out this first section up to basically this divider here with the title, the author, the month that you read it, the rating that you gave it, your read source, where you read it from, the genre, and the subgenre. But then there's a section for more subgenres to really get into the nitty-gritty of it. Representation for diversity, representation notes if you want to add them. What are the strong elements of the story? What are the trigger warnings? These are, again, all customizable drop-down menus. What was the pacing? What was the writing style? What was the atmosphere? What point of view was it? What kind of tropes does it have? Did you like the ending? You can put the full publication date, especially if you're like reviewing things on a time crunch or whatnot. If you received the ARC, and then little to do, basically, did you update Goodreads, Storygraph, Amazon? You can change these to whatever, but basically, did you update it where you need to update it? And then any review or review notes here. So I struggle with writing reviews, and I mostly wanted something that would help me to remember how to like put things within reviews, because I do want to focus more on actually reviewing books this year. Year stats. So this is the old year stats that I've brought over because some people like to see their stats all in one place. This one has existed for the last few years because it works. I've updated a little bit of it just to kind of like move around some things that look a little bit better, but you have your dashboard over here that has just some at-a-glance information, your reading goal with a progress bar, some information here about like diverse reads, nonfiction. You have your stats by month, you have your ratings, how many ratings, and then these are basically all the information that is filled in other places. It gives you your shortest book, your longest book. It also will give you a few other things. It fills out that country graph as you do that. And then over here, it will give you your authors read and your series read. And it's great, right, to see all your stuff in one place. This year, I added a new one just called Yearly, at a glance, and your dashboard is now at the top, and it just gives you some quick information. Books read, pages, hours, rereads, DNF, percent that are owned that you read. And then it has how much nonfiction. It will give you your top 3 genres. It will have how many authors you read from, and then the stats of the author. It gives you your series stats, your highest read month, your lowest read month, and then a few other things. And the thing about this is a drop down, so you can see the graph based on what you choose. And it's not just all on one, it's a much like smaller area, I guess. And then this one, I was able to fit a few more fun things. So again, you have your authors read and your series read. You have your highest rated books, your lowest rated books. Then you have your shortest and longest books. Then you have your best and worst rated books of your each month, and then the average rating from each month. And then we have your month, how many books you read per month versus star ratings here. And then down here, I did include the country as well. And then your pages goal, which this reads from your goal page, and then your hours goal as well. So this also gave me room for you to fit a lot more things than the other one did. And then, of course, you have your goal stats up here, and it will tell you how many books you have to read before the end of the year, and basically how many books per day to reach your goal. So then we get to the monthly stats. This got a bit of a makeover from previous years. You just select the month that you want to see the stats of, and it will update things. But I've added a TBR section that reads from the TBR page that you use, a new releases section that reads from the new releases that you use, and then a readathon section that are happening within this month. And then I've also added a little bookshelf, essentially with the titles that you read for the month, and then also a cover gallery over here for the books that you read for the month with their star ratings, and then just to some of those stats within that month that are just here as well. Your monthly side-by-side will just show you not all of the stats, but like a small sampling of each of the stats month to month to month. Your bookshelf titles, this will fill out as you read. These are all the books that you read with the year, and then it will give it a color based on if it was audio, physical, ebook, or mixture of the two, and then it will color coordinate those. There is a 26 and 26 if you partake in that. This is what a finished one looks like, and so you do have your goal up here, and it will tell you how many you've completed, and you can mark it completed, owned, currently reading, DNF, not started, get from library, you know, things like that. So you can fill that out. There's also a 12 and 12 template if that suits your fancy. There's also very similar a book club template for each, you know, book that you might read for your book club each month. And then you can just copy those. So then we get into some. I gave lots of options. So one of the options I gave is a TBR option. There's 2 options for TBRs. So this is one option for TBR where you put the title, the reason, if you read it, if you want to buy it, things like that. And then the second one, they're kind of similar, but one's just more in a line than the other. And this has a little bit more information. So like if you read it, the title, where you're going to get it from, the reason for reading it, and like the status of it. And then if you want to buy it with some little stats at the top. We have 2 habit trackers. We have this one, which is a very complicated one. And I ask if you use this one, don't mess with too much of it. But basically, this will auto fill out the color of the day based on if you read, if you listened, or if you did both, and it will change the color to fit that. And then it will also give you your stats of how many days that you read, how many days that you listened, and then like a little goals bar as well. And then the second one is a much more simplified version, basically just saying if you read physically or audio within a month, and then it has your totals and the percentage that you read for the month. One is transactions, so you can look at books that you're buying and also books that you're selling in one place, and it will give you the difference of those, and customizable drop-down menus here as well. There's 2 different release options for anticipated releases. So this is a more detailed one where you put in the month and the day and the title, you know, all that good stuff. You mark if you've ordered it, if you want to buy it, where you've ordered it from, and then read, DNF, reviewed, special edition. And then this also has some things that you can do to basically filter if you want to filter this by release month. And then the second option is much more simple, and it's just each month you put the day that it comes out, if you pre-ordered it, the title, and if you've read it, essentially. We also have an ARC tracker for people who do receive a lot of ARCs, so I've included one specifically for that. Library books, so you fill out all your library books that you get, and then it will also tell you the amount saved if you put in like how much that book normally would have cost you. And then you can also mark if you want to buy it as well. Like if it was so good, I need it. There are 3 series tracker options, and they go from like complicated to least complicated. So the most complicated is this one, where you might have to do some copy and pasting along the way to get it to look right. But basically you have your sagas, trilogies, duologies, graphic novel. It's split up for you in advance. The second one is where you would write out the title of each book, the author, the series, what number it is in the series, and then the type of series, and then the series status as well. And then the third option is the most simple. You just type in the series title, the author, how many are in the series, and then you just mark off as you read them. There's a progress bar, and then your series status, unfinished, completed, caught up, in progress, so forth. There's a cover gallery for every book that you read in the year, and it does have the star ratings as well with it. There is the readathons page, which I gave a little bit of an update to. So now you can list out your readathons. You put the month that it's taking place in, the start and the end date. You put the host here, but basically it becomes a drop-down menu. So then when you select it, it will automatically change the date to the dates that the readathon is happening, and then you can fill those out. There is now a list for DNF, so if you mark a book as DNF, it will show up here, and then you can kind of put the reasoning why, and it will count how many books that you have DNF'd if you are a serial DNFer, or you could manually do this as well. here is the book bracket that pulls from your books read tab, and then you get to experience the fun of the book bracket here. Star ratings, it will put all of your ratings, star columns, instead of listing them. Before I had it as a list. Now you can just see the cover of them. There's also the tier ranking. You can customize the tiers to say whatever you want with a few extras. And then as you mark them where they need to go, they will also show up in those tiers. And then that to buy section, so this one automatically fills out from anything that you've marked as to buy at some point in the spreadsheet. And then there's also one you can fill out manually as well. And then we have, these are the selections and also like the setup that you have to do where you pick the options of things that you're using. But these are all those drop-down menus essentially that you can customize to have whatever you want, and then it updates there. And then there's also now the reviewing selections. So that reviewing area where you can, I've just put in some things to start you out with, right? And then you can change and edit this however you want. New rating system. So if you want to use a basic one, you don't need this, but if you're using a customized rating system, you can go in here, you write what it is that goes into your rating system, and then you put the weight of it and whether or not you want to round it to whole, half, or quarters. And then you change like your drop down section. You put what a star rating means to you, and yeah, then you have your customizable rating system. So that is a quick overview of all the tabs. So now we get into the fun part of telling you how to do all the things. All right, when you get to the folder, you follow the link in the PDF that you get from Etsy. You're going to get to this folder. I highly recommend that you star the updates, because this is where I will list any changes that need to be made, any errors that pop up. I mark the change here, tell you how to fix it, essentially, if you need to fix it. So organize, add to star is what you're going to want to do. And then if you would need to find this, you can go to starred, see if it's been updated, especially if you come across some sort of issue. See if it's been updated there first before you use the contact in the PDF to get a hold of me. This also has a list of everything that I've added, but what you're going to want to do here is you can either open this or you can go here and you're going to want to go to make a copy. And when you do this, it might try to make the copy within the folder that it's in, and it won't let you do that. So just make sure that if you need to, you can also open it up, go to File, make a copy, and then you can actually select the file and folder that you need to put it into your drive. First, I'm going to show you how to just the tabs that are at the bottom, navigating the tabs. Here's a tip if you need to navigate all the tabs. There is a little like hamburger here and you can see them all. So if you want a quicker way than trying to scroll through all of them. But if you want to move them, you can hold and drag them. The other option is if you don't want them anymore, you can go to either delete, the little arrow beside it, delete, or you can go to hide if you want to hide, which is normally what I do with the instructions because I don't necessarily need that, right? And if I do, you can always go to View Hidden Sheets, and it will list anything that you've hidden here if you need to find them again. If you want to change the color of the spreadsheet, you go up here to fill, you'll see this custom, you'll hit this little pencil, it will pop up, it's behind my head here, but it will pop up behind here and you can change the color scheme there. I also have a list of free color schemes that I've used in the past or haven't used yet on my Ko-fi that you can look at as well. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you get your spreadsheet is maybe fill out your goals here. And I will say the one thing with the goals is that this books I want to read, pages I want to read, and hours I want to listen do get pulled. Anything you insert here gets pulled to the year and yearly stats pages, just as a heads up, but you can go through, fill these out however you want to. And then the second thing you're going to want to do is go to your selections, edit your selections however you want to do this, whatever you want to add or delete. Do that to your selections, your review selections. And if you're adding things and you want them to be in alphabetical order, you'll highlight, you just click, hold, drag down, and then you go to data, sort range. You don't want to sort the whole sheet, you want to sort the range, and then A to Z, Z to A. The next thing you might want to do after that is go to your ratings. If you are using the customizable ratings, you're going to decide up to 7 things what goes into your rating system. So I've just put some things here that you might want to use. You could use less if you want. And then you decide how much that matters with the weight within your rating system, up to 100%. You want to make sure this just equals 100%. You're going to choose if you want it to round to whole, half, or quarter star ratings. And then each of your drop-down menus, you need to basically decide what you want your drop-down menu to be. If you want it to have the halves, if you want it to have the quarters, you can add those in. And then for each of these sections, this is what you're going to rate it out of. If you want the weight of these to show, I would recommend putting the percent that the weight equals to in the title as well, because this pulls and is read on the books tab. So that's just a little tip if you want the weight to show on the books read tab. Let's go to the books read. I'm going to show you, I know most of you are not going to use all of this stuff. And if you are not very good with Google Sheets or don't have a ton of understanding, I wouldn't recommend necessarily deleting a bunch of things right off the bat, but you can hide things that you're not going to use. So say you don't care about the tier ranking. You don't want this. So you select this whole thing by the columns are with the letters at the top. You'll select this whole thing. And you can press this down arrow and you can go to, you could delete it, but like I said, if you're not very good, you can always go to hide. And then if you would ever need to unhide it, there's 2 little arrows that appear here, and you can click on those and it will unhide them. So if you wanted to delete or hide those. The same works with like the rows. If you would want to get rid of a row of something, you can go and you can click it. You can right click this, delete, or hide row, essentially. But whatever you don't really want to use, I would recommend hiding if you're not very good with Google, because some of these things are tied to a few different formulas that could possibly break some of the things that they're calculating. It's not unlikely. I don't think it would be a massive problem, but so how you do this is up to you. If you want to change the colors of any of your drop-down menus, you can view them, and then there's a little pencil at the bottom. Do not try to like write in anything new in these sections, because this is pulling from those things that you have in the back of the spreadsheet, but you can change the colors of these to whatever you want, and then it will pop up and ask you if you want to change them for all the things, and you just put yes, because it's just going to change them for every instance on this page. If you want to resize areas, you can select this, and then you can just drag, you'll select the little border and you can drag that around. Same with the rows. If you want to resize them, it's the same way. Just depends on how you want it. Let's say another thing you might come across is you might delete something, and then next thing you know, oh no, your check marks are gone. 2 ways to fix this. If you see, the things around it still have checkboxes, there is, when you select a cell, there's a little like circle here. You can just click and drag that to fill. It will fill all that in. The other option would be you can go to, I believe, insert now. Yeah, they changed this. Insert, checkbox. Let's do, first thing you might want to do is insert an image. So if you want to insert an image, there's a few ways to do this. You can go, there's a few ways to put the image there. There's only one way to insert it, but you're going to want to select the cell that you want the picture in, insert, and then you're going to go to image, insert in cell. You don't want it over, you want it in the cell, And then you can either upload it. You do not have to save every photo under the sun. Instead, you can go to link. And let's say you use StoryGraph. If you come across an image, you can right click it and you can go to copy image address. And then when you go back here and it asks for a URL, you can paste that image address. That's a quick way to do it as well. So you go in, you'll insert whatever things that you've left, you know, to your devices. Again, you'll see those ratings. If you end up only using 3 things, you can just hide the ones that you're not using. This area here automatically calculates, and then this will also automatically give you the stars. You can choose a normal rating system. You can choose a customizable one. You can keep both if you want. That's what I do, because sometimes I like to see if I'm just doing it purely on enjoyment or if I'm doing it like based around like actually understanding how this should be rated. The only time you use the completed series is if that book completes the series. The reviewing, I will say, the thing with the reviewing is this is going to be however you insert them onto the books read. So if you move one of these around, if you were to drag this somewhere else, the problem is it will change the location of that on the reviewing tab. And what happens then is anything that's inserted after that, so like when you're putting in the strong story elements and whatnot, it doesn't actually tie into the title, necessarily go moving things around after you've rated things. But, you know, once I tend to just put them in the order that I read them. One tip I will give you about the book spreads, so say it's, you know, maybe this is a little hard to tell like difference between like what months. One thing I like to do, just as a little tip, is at the end of the month, when I've started into the new month, I select the whole row by selecting that number there, the row number. And then I go to borders up here, the little box, and then I choose like a thick one. I choose just a color or whatever, and then I just put it on the bottom. And now you have a border between your months. So just as a way to kind of visually section those off a little bit better. So on this review section, again, you can kind of do these however you want. You can customize these however you want. One thing that I personally found was good, especially with like the trigger warnings, is doing it kind of like a category. So like child is a category, and then within it, just trigger warnings related to child. Same with queer. Trigger warnings, basically queer, and then what it is. You can, again, do this however you want. I just felt that it was a little easier to find things when I kind of had them in a category with the category name first, so then they're all together. But however you want to do that, and then again, you can color code these however you want. You can customize the colors. Just go to that edit button and customize the colors as needed. Other thing about this page is when you're completely done reviewing something, you can mark this as done and it will gray it out to let you know that like you're done with this. You don't really need to review that anymore. Totally up to you to use that though. For this year stats, let's talk about, let's say you have deleted an area. You don't care about publisher. Right? So you want to get rid of this area. You are going to click and drag to select this whole area. You're going to hit delete. You're going to go to format and you're going to go to clear formatting in this area. It's gone. And now the graph is like, oh God, where did the data go? You're just going to select it and delete it. Gone. You don't need it anymore, baby. So that's a way to get rid of the graph. If you need to move things around, say, oh, I've added a bunch of stuff here and now it's come down into this section. If you need to move a graph, you will select the data area, you'll right click, and you're going to go to cut, not copy, cut. And then you're going to select the new area. Here's the thing though, all of these are going to be different sizes, so finding a place might be kind of fun. But then you're going to go to paste. You might have to, you know, move things around as needed. The graph stays with it. When you do this cut option, it actually keeps that data set, and then you can just click and move the graph wherever you need. Let's say you want to edit the colors of a graph. You don't really, you want to do specific colors for things. you'll double click on the graph and then it will give you different options, and you're gonna go to pie slice. I know this is right behind my head. Pie slice, let me hide myself for 1 second. Oh, just kidding. Pie slice, and then you can see what each of the pie slices are, and you can change the color based on that. If you go way out of a section and need to, like, say you're all the way down here and the graph is not showing that, you can double click on this and it should have the data range here under setup, and you would select this and then you would drag to that whole data set, essentially. Run into, like, you are adding things here and you're noticing that, like, it doesn't have these numbers. You're gonna just drag the formula. If you're missing a formula in some area and you need it to continue, you're gonna do that. You're gonna select the cell that has it. You're gonna go to the little circle and you're gonna drag that to wherever you need the formula to continue. And for those who don't know, this is where you find the formula. If you need to double check to see where a formula is reading, you could go here, you can expand this a little bit, and it will highlight those cells. So your cells that it's reading from are going to be like a number, a letter and a number, and it will highlight, when you click on it, it will highlight where that cell is. So if you really want to make sure, like, a formula just seems like maybe it got moved and isn't reading in the right way, you've moved it around, you're not too sure if it's still reading in the right section, you can double check which cell that it's looking for. Some of the formulas are going to look insane, and I apologize, and if it's too over your head, I get it. I don't even know what the heck I'm writing sometimes. The other thing you might want to do is change the color of progress bars. So I tend to make most of them white or black just for simplicity, but the very last section is where this one just says white, but you can put a hex code in here, or you can write out just like a specific color if you want. So like it knows your basic colors, red, green, black, white, things like that. But if you have a hex code, you can also put that in there and it will change your progress bar to that color. The other thing might be if you want to duplicate tabs, especially when you get into like making copies. So the book club template, if you want to make a copy of that, you would select it and then you go to duplicate. It normally shows up at the end of your spreadsheet. You might just have to go find it. You can duplicate it. If you want to change the colors of them, it also gives you the option to change the little color bar at the bottom. I only do put colors on things that like I'm accessing very frequently and want to find very frequently. So those are kind of the basics of like things that you might run into that you might need to troubleshoot or whatever for yourself to make it fit for you. Kind of just like the basics of some of those things. The only other thing I can think of is like on this monthly thing, these are just going to be random colors for books, but you can override that. If you want to do this, then you can select this whole area. You could go to format, conditional formatting, and you can essentially just remove all of this if you wanted to do them manually, if you want to color them manually. Let's go through each page one by one, let you know some things that you just might need to know. You can change the headings of these, it doesn't matter. You can put whatever the yearly challenges that you're doing here, that kind of thing. Like I said, books that you want to read, pages you want to read, and hours you want to read, this number pulls from here and goes to different tabs. You could, if you see that if you get rid of this and you see there's an error there, you just delete the formula and then just manually write it in from there. For your books read, hide what you don't want, You can also create filters for this. If you want to go to data, you can create a filter or create, a filter view, add a slicer. A slicer is basically like a customizable way to filter data if you really want to. I will say I don't know if adding a filter will affect the reviewing page as you do it. So if you go to do the reviews, you might just need to view everything on the books read before you go to the reviewing page. But other than that, if you want to filter it, however you want to filter it. I've tried to create filters basically everywhere else that you might need it. Reviewing again, pulls data from the red tab as it is entered. So new entries that are put onto this, and then you move, if you put something over here and then you move the title around, it is not tied to this, it's just tied to this area. So if you would move something from the books read to a different order, it will mix this up. So don't necessarily put anything in here until you're like confirmed that that's where its spot is on your books read. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue, but just something to be aware about. Your stats have kind of gone over most of what might happen here. Your reading goal is again pulled from that goals page, but if this would show an error because you delete the goals page or you don't want to use the goals page, you can just manually enter it here. Everything else should automatically. The only thing that you might want to know about is that right now, books read does count DNFs. And if you don't want it to count DNF, you do have to add, it is read DNF false. I have it listed on the instructions page what you need to add directly after this area. So it's like a comma, DNF false. You just copy and paste that if you don't want it to count DNFs, or you can just choose not to put DNFs on your red book tab as well and list them in the DNF page. Yearly, the thing is, if you would add a new section of stats you want to show up in this drop down, you would have to change quite the formula in some areas. So I would recommend that if you're going to add a new stat to view, like if you're adding one yourself, you just add it in a different section or put it on the year stats, add over to the side, add some columns if you need to, and add it somewhere else, just because there is quite a formula tied to get this to pull up the data from whatever you have selected. I would also recommend not changing the names, because the formula is looking for very specific things listed here. So just not changing the names, and if you do have to go in and change those formulas, but that's getting a little too far into it, I think. If you want to change the goals bar color, again, you can just change that white to a hex code if you want, or a color of your choosing. The one thing I will note about this, for some reason, even if you haven't read anything yet for the year, you will notice they will list 1 across the board in some areas, and some areas down here will also have like random numbers in them. These don't affect your stats overall and do not show an incorrect stat. It's just the way the formula is set up. It just shows a 1 if nothing is entered in these areas, and then these ones down here just pulling something just to put in there. It's not wrong. It will still show you the correct stats. It won't miscount it. Just listen, I don't necessarily understand all the magic that I'm doing. If it works, I don't bother it. That's kind of the method that happens here most of the time. I'm like, I got it to work. I don't necessarily always know why it works, especially when other things that I think will work don't. But that's where we get. And you can kind of remove anything that you're not going to use here. And these are the goals that, again, pull from that goals page, but if you wanted to, you could manually enter them if need be. Again, this does count your DNFs. If you don't want them to count, you do have to add that red DNF false, so that it will only count books that have been entered but haven't been entered as DNF. It will also currently count pretty much anything you have put in books read. So if you have anything in there that's even listed as like currently reading or paused, it will also count those. Your monthly stats! Okay. So if you don't want these sections, you can remove them. You can remove this whole section. You can cut this essentially and move it up. Whatever you need to do. Again, you can hide and view whatever you want. And then the drop-down menu will show you anything related to that month. Don't try to move around any of the cover stuff, because it is kind of more delicate of a system over here. So I would say anything that's pulling any type of images might be a little harder to arrange in different ways than what it is. So I would try not to mess too much with those. That that, the monthly side by side, if you add things to this area and you're getting an error because it's saying it's going to like overwrite something, you can just add, right click, add a row below or above, and then it just keep doing it until you don't get an error anymore. Essentially, you're going to want to do it in the middle of your chart area, of your list area, so that the formatting doesn't add random borders, but that will fill in anything that's threatening to overwrite anything below it. It gives it more space. Bookshelf titles. This reads from a very complicated area that I ask that is hidden, that I ask that you don't delete and you don't touch, or it won't work the way it's supposed to. If you would really want to change the colors of these, you can highlight the whole bookshelf area, and you can go to Format, Conditional Formatting, and you can change these colors to whatever you want, and then change the key by just using the paint bucket to match the colors that you've picked. It does only read things by audio, physical, ebook, and mixture, so if you would want to change that, you would have to go in and change the coding on things. So unfortunately, I haven't found a way to make this a better customizable option. Your 26 and 26, again, if you want to insert an image, you can just go, you select it, insert image in cell, and again, you can either do the upload or by the image URL address. And then you can change these. The only thing I ask that you don't change is completed, because this is looking for the word completed to mark this as whether or not you've read it. And then the progress bar, again, if you need to change the color, just put in the hex code there or the color. 12 and 12, very similar. Book club, very similar. Monthly TBR option 1 here. I don't think I have very much to tell you about that, or the monthly option TBR 2, other than you can change like where you get things from. I believe this is reading from a selections in the back. Yeah. So this is just reading from your acquired area, and you can change the colors to whatever you want. The only thing is it will mark things that are currently reading and to read. That will be a list up there that it's looking specifically for those. Other than that, you can kind of choose how you want to mark those. Habit Tracker 1, please don't really touch anything on this spread, because each day in and of itself has over 3 different formulas pulling from it. So 3 times 365, you can imagine that it's not a very fun page to update, because I do have to update it every single year. Don't try to move the calendar. If you change the year, it will put everything out of whack. So there is that. If you would come across a color that doesn't seem like it's working, or it's showing the incorrect color, because sometimes the colors reset themselves, you can select the area, again, go to Format, Conditional Formatting, see wherever the wrong color is, and then change it from there. You can also change the colors from there if you really want to, but you're going to have to do it for every single month as you do it. Habit Tracker 2 is much easier, where you can just, select the day that you did the thing. Much easier. If you want to change the color of these, this is honestly, the checkboxes are just associated with the text color. So if you want to change the text color of those, it will change the color of the checkboxes. And again, same thing with the different progress bars. You can just change the color of those with that very last color that's listed there. Transactions, again, color code this how you want. Or if you read it, if it's special edition, if you bought it, sold it, unhauled it, whatever, however you want to use this is how you use it. Releases, I do ask that when you are doing the releases, the month release and the day, please only put the day, because this gets read on a different page, and if you put in other information in here, if you try to put in like a full date in here, it will mess up some of those formulas on other pages. So, and if you wanted to add like borders or something around here, you can just do that up here. Sure, willy-nilly. If you want to see what's coming out in a certain month, there should be like a little it's called a slicer menu. Essentially, you can go up here. I only want to see things that come out in February. You can mark that and it will just show you things in February. If you want to see them all, of course, you'll just mark all and it will put those back. So, and you can add those data, add a slicer to pretty much any of the sheets to some degree. But it really only really works with things that are like listed out here. And then the second release is, again, when it says day, just the day. It's reading the month up top here, and then it's pulling the day here. If you try to put in a full date, it will mess up on other pages, but just put the day. If you want to organize these by day, you're going to want to select, to make sure you're selecting all of this, so it makes sure that all of it is tied together. So you want to select all the check marks as well, especially if you've entered things there. You're going to go to data, sort range, but it's not going to give you what, because you're going to want it by column C. If you look, column C has the day in it, or whichever. You'll look at the top to see where that's at. You're going to go to advanced sorting options, choose column C, then A to Z, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will sort it by the day. One thing that you can also do that I find, like when we're getting later in the year and I don't want to see things as much anymore, I'll show you with the TBR. Go back to the TBR and show you it as well. But I don't need to see February is past. You can just hide this. You can select all that you want to hide, and then you can just go to hide. And then you don't have to worry about seeing a bunch of things that like aren't relevant to you right now, and you can always unhide them as needed. Same with the TBR option. I tend to use this one, and when I'm done with a month, I just make sure that everything's marked as like didn't get to, completed, whatever. And then I just go through and hide these. I hide these rows because I don't need to see them anymore. I just fill out whatever. I'm done with the month and we're moving on. Arcs, again, pretty standard. Fill it out as needed. You can change these to wherever you're putting these. That's just up to you. I just put in like some general options. Library books, again, totally there is a slicer here to kind of sort things if you would need to. The month that you check it out, you know, title, author, series, if you want to buy it, if you read it, when it's due. The call number, if you would ever want to like check it out again, maybe to put the call number. If not, you don't really need this. It's more of just to give me an area to put numbers in. And then like, you know, the month read, because I know when I check a book out, it's like 2 months. Take me like 2 months to get to it. Series tracker. Okay, this is the one that is a little more complicated. Basically, how this one works is when you want to add another series, you want to copy this whole area for however many. All right, copy, and then you'll select that very first box. It's a little one, very first one, and then you'll paste it essentially to put like what the next thing is. And you're going to want to make sure there's only a check mark beside the title when you're done it to mark it, and you'll just do that for each of them to add a new area. So then you put the, you know, the title up here, whatever. So that's pretty much that. It's a little more complicated to do. It's not overly complicated. It looks pretty nice to have them done this way. I will say for series tracker, I only use the series tracker for the series I'm going to read that year. And then I have a like lifetime series tracker saved on a different spreadsheet that I can keep coming back to update. I don't think it's worth it to keep every series that you've ever read in your yearly tracker, in my opinion. And if you wanted to, you can always add this to a different spread. You can go to copy to, if you would ever want to copy something, some tab to a different one, you can hit that little arrow and you can go to copy to new spreadsheet or existing spreadsheet and then select it. So if you like have an owned library spreadsheet and you want to keep all your series there, or if you just want a new series tracking one, if you wanted to use these, that's essentially where you could do it. The only thing that might mess up is like on series tracker 2. These might get a little iffy if you would duplicate it to a new page, but then you just hit the edit button and then change your selections that way. So I think I made these so they could be moved essentially elsewhere. And then you have your little slicer over here that you can do that by. And then it should do a few things here. And then series tracker 3. This one's my favorite. And one thing that I like to do is I remove the author. I tend to cut these stats, move them, and then I remove the author because honestly, I don't care. And then you put the total number in the series, and then I go through and delete all these checkboxes, so I know that's all the further we go. And then if you change the color of the progress bar, you only have to do it once. You just do it in this top one, and then you can drag the progress bar all the way down if you want to. And then series, unfinished, completed, caught up, in progress, not started, you can change those however you want. I color code them. If you don't read series that are this long, you can hide some of these. I only read series that are, the highest one is 7 books long. You can just hide this. You can hide these, and then they're there if you need them. Cover gallery, not much to say other than that you can change like the size of these as needed, but I wouldn't try to move anything around. These just appear as you read them. What you could do is highlight the areas and change the background color for different months if you wanted a way to visually separate them. But other than that, it is just going to show in the order, and it's going to pull those different ratings. Readathons, again, you'll put the name here, you'll put the month, the start date, the end date, the host. I have had a few people who were asking about like multiple months, and I haven't really found a way to incorporate something that is multiple months in a good way. So I would put it in sections. So you could do like readathon part 1, say for January, and then part 2 for February. You could do it that way, or you could put it as just having a start date and not really giving it an end date as well in just that month. But I think if you plan to do multi-months, if you're planning to do something that's yearly, or if it's over a very extended amount of time, I would say put it in those yearly slots and on the goals page rather than here. But that's just how you would do it for like multiple months, is to kind of separate it into parts. Chances are if you're making a TBR, it's going to probably be more monthly. So if you break it into the months that it's taking place in, then you can kind of also break down those prompts in the months that you're going to read them. The other thing that you'll just need to do is once you select this, the readathon, it automatically fills it out. You do need to put in the number of challenges here. So let's say it's only 7 challenges, you do need to change that to 7, or however many challenges that it is to complete it, essentially. And then some readathons have points, so there's a points area. DNFs. This autofills. This one just reads from the red tab. And then if you don't want this to be automatic, just delete this first area, and then you can just physically write them in, manually write them in if that's what you want to do. Honestly, that's probably what I'll do, because I don't like to put DNFs on my books read tab. The to by tab, however, so this side will read from multiple tabs, and it does them in the order of which it finds it, essentially. So like your books read, and then it might be from like library, and then some other area. I can't remember where all it pulls from. So this will automatically fill in. And then there's one for like manually filling out. If you don't want this, you can hide this area. You can delete all of this and use this as a manual. I couldn't put check marks beside these because you might delete it or remove that to by option, and then it would be all out of order. So you do only get the check mark with one that you manually enter, but this is, again, up to you. If you want to see the list here and then write it over here, however you want to use it. The book bracket, how this works. Okay, I saw my friend copy and pasting pictures into here, and you don't have to do that. Basically, when you read a book in your books read tab, and you think it was the best book of that month, you're gonna select that here. You're only gonna do 1 book a month, but you're gonna select it here. So then it will show up in this book bracket, and then between the months you just hit whichever one was the best, and so on and so forth, until, just be wary that you know, you're not clicking too many things, but you'll just select it between the 2 months and then, you know, the different rounds until you get to the best book of the year by the book bracket system. Star rankings. This system will automatically, even if you have chosen to have things by quarters, this will automatically rate things to a half star, simply to make it easy for me, honestly. Because it is a lot to do, because it's based around what kind of rating system you pick. So this will automatically put them in areas you might think this isn't a lot of room, Allie, and you know, that's fair. So that's why I have created, you'll see little arrows. I have hidden the extra areas as you need them. So if you fill this area out and you're like, I swear there should be more books there, you can unhide this and it should keep filling them out. If you would need to add a section, you can right click, insert row below, and then you're just going to want to like copy and paste the formulas down, essentially. So that there should be some. I did have someone message me about 0 stars not showing things that are marked as not rated. And I think that has more to do with how I picture ratings. To me, not rated does not equal 0 stars. So if you want things to show up here, I would put in a 0 star rating for them, not just putting them as not rated. This is very similar to the tier ranking. So with the tier ranking, you can change this to whatever you want. Amazing, you know, amazing, read it now. You can change these to what you want. You can also change the colors to whatever you want. This reads as, you know, as you have it inserted on those tiers, and then you can color coordinate it as needed. But again, you're probably like, I don't know if that's enough room. There are hidden sections here that will bring up more. They have little arrows to them if you would need more sections to them. Talk about the selections. One of the things that you will have to do is choose whether you're using the basic or customized rating system. This will change your stats across the board for like the rating systems and like what it's going to show you. And then what TBR page you're using, this is what gets read on that yearly or the monthly stats page that shows you like your monthly TBR. It needs to know which page to read that from. Even if one doesn't exist anymore, you need to still mark which one you're using. Same with the new releases. You just need to mark which one you're using so it can find the page and it's not trying to read like a deleted page or anything like that. So change these how you want. You can change, you know, however many ratings here. This is the basic rating system. You know, do these how you need. Data, sort range, alphabetical order there. Reviewing selections, same thing. I even added little notes. If you right click, you can add notes to things to tell you what the different points of views mean when you have first person, second person, third person, in case that's important to you. And then I added a few little resources of like where you can find a few more like things if you want to add them. Totally customizable to you. There are things that I'm just not going to ever read. So like I'm not ever really gonna need something that maybe has a hidden affair involved because I'm never gonna read something with that. So just be aware that like you don't have to have 10 million options. You don't have to have every option under the sun, just the ones that you know you're going to run into. And you can, and if not, you can always add them later as you run into them. And again, you can change these. One thing that I had recommended is, especially like under tropes, maybe put the genre first so they'll show up all in the same section, since it is normally alphabetical. It's just the easiest way to do it. So you could do like romance, enemies to lovers, romance, arranged marriage, if that would be easier, you know, for you. The other thing is just the star ratings. Again, you just fill this out. This is just a little guide for you. What does a star rating mean for you? And you can extend this if you need to, you know, however many here, the percentage, your drop down menus, how you want to rate it, whole, half, quarter, and that should change it. If you are using the customizable ones, that should change it throughout. Had a few little things pop up with the customizable rating system. It is a new feature, so there might be a few things here and there. Just use the link on the PDF, essentially. I think it should also be on the instructions page to get a hold of me if there's an issue. It's a ticketing system that I'm using now. It gives me the issue, gives me all the information, and then it lets you know immediately when I've fixed it with like a little email from me. And then if not, you can, if you don't know if it's been fixed, you can always check your little starred updates to make sure to see if any changes have been made. I think that's just about everything you might need to know. It's a hard thing to cover everything when it comes to this, especially because I've been staring at it for so long. I'm the one who worked on it. So to me, a lot of this feels given, but then I always have people who are like, you know, I don't really know how to use this, or they ask for like the rules of like how, when you listen to a book that is like an hour and 30 minutes, how do you mark that? And like, that's all completely up to you. I put 0.5s. You know, or you can change this data, I believe, to actually, like, the format you can actually change to, like, a time. Yeah, you can change it to, like, a time, but that just seems overly complicated. So for me, just 0.5. So it's really up to you how exactly you want to use this. I just provided a ton of options, and hopefully I've given you enough to be able to use this and explore different things on your own without needing too much of my assistance. I will say I tend to get absolutely bombarded with messages during this time, so it takes me a while to get back. Sometimes you might not ever get a response to me, and that's not on purpose. And I'm sorry, it's not you, it's me. I have someone to help me this year, because it's a little overwhelming. The Etsy link to these will be down below. I do plan on working with a few other spreadsheets throughout the year that aren't going to be based around books, and they're not going to get updated as much as the book one, because the book one, this is my pride and joy, but I do want to explore making a few different types of spreadsheets for people in their lives that will just be up year round. They'll come out throughout the year, so just keep an eye out if there's other things that you're interested in. And technically these can be used year after year, but I do tend to update them and add things to them year after year. I do appreciate any support. I also will leave my Ko-fi linked below because I do have some free downloads on there. Not a ton. I have like the color schemes that you can get for free, but also an owned spreadsheet I have on there for free, and I do plan on updating it throughout this year so that hopefully by next year it will be even bigger and better, but you can at least start filling out the basic one that is on there for now if you want a free version of a owned library kind of spreadsheet. I'm always looking to know what I can add, what I can improve on, any of your ideas. I can't always promise that I'm going to know how to make them happen. I also try to avoid adding scripts as much as possible because I don't want you to have to accept things from outside sources. So I try to keep it simple as much as possible. I'm always looking for things to add. So if you have ideas or things that you would like to see in a spreadsheet, throw them at me, man. Throw them at me. So yeah, I'm going to be updating a few other spreadsheets and a few other things are going to get added, but this one is available now. There are, I think, 4 or 5 different colors. Again, you can change the color, totally up to you, but you can check in the down bar for the link. Thank you so much. I hope that is enough to get you through. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye!